Welcome along to the Ever Celine podcast. I'm Matt Sims, and this is where we get into the real stuff that drive great leadership, high performance, and a thriving culture of continuous improvement. I chat openly and honestly with people who've been there and done it. The kind of leaders who create real impact, not just in numbers, but in the way their teams think, feel, and perform. If you're after honest insights, practical ideas, and conversations that challenge the way we lead, you're in the right place, because where people thrive, performance follows.
The Ever So Lean podcast
with Matt Sims. Because where people thrive, performance follows.
This episode is sponsored by the Lean Competency System, who are the world's leading improvement qualifications and community. The LCS helps improvement leaders to build capability and credibility, drive cultural change, and deliver measurable results by offering a globally recognised qualification framework and access to the world's leading professional improvement community. The benefits of LCS accreditation include building the right capability across your teams with a structured, professionally designed accreditation that embeds best practice improvement skills. Boost the credibility and recognition of your improvement work through a qualification framework developed at Cardiff University. Attract and retain top talent by offering clear development pathways, rewards, and professional recognition. Join a strong community of improvement practitioners, connecting you with peers to share insights, resources, and growth opportunities. Visit leancompetency.org to learn more. Joining me on the show today is Michel Doppert, a man with a rich international background, having lived and worked in places such as Indonesia, Turkey, the Netherlands, and many more to boot as well. His journey's one of transformation, leadership, and continuous improvement. A serial entrepreneur, he originally trained in international law before Michel's career took a pivotal turn when he discovered his passion for quality management and Lean Six Sigma whilst working in the airline industry. Michel was part of the first wave of Six Sigma black belts in Europe, later earning his master black belt at General Electric. Throughout his career, he's combined his data-driven mindset and a deep appreciation for change management and leadership, driving results across numerous industries. Even as he took on P&L responsibilities, his passion for continuous improvement remained unwavering. In 2012, Michel returned to his Lean and Six Sigma roots, dedicating himself to training, mentoring, and coaching professionals. As the lead instructor and director of the Lean Six Sigma Company UK, he's helping to shape the next generation of leaders. He collaborates with the Productivity Company to develop self-paced courses, making Lean Six Sigma training more accessible. Today on the show, we'll be discussing how continuous improvement has been a pillar of business success for decades. But with the world changing so rapidly, are traditional learning methods still relevant? How have advancements like AI and automation impacted the way we approach Lean Six Sigma? And how can we ensure that these frameworks stay relevant for the next generation? That's all coming up and more with Michel. Welcome to the Ever Celine podcast.
Thank you very much, Matt. That really sounds like I'm right at the right place at the right time. Thank you very much.
You are a huge inspiration. You know, we've been speaking for, a couple of months now, maybe a bit longer than that. And I would say that every time I speak to you, I leave feeling inspired. You are a very inspiring individual.
Thank you very much. And I hope I can help you out with some of my thoughts and that they actually help other people out when they think about continuous improvement. And I just want to make sure that everybody understands that when I talk about continuous improvement, I talk about a mindset. I talk about an attitude, not a set of tools. And the funny thing is, everybody has that attitude. It's just picking it up again. That's the trick. That's what I talk about.
So you've started already. You're on it already. You're inspiring me. We've not even started yet. We're already doing it. What I think comes across massively with you is that you don't just talk from a textbook. It's very authentic. You can tell that you've been there, done it, and you really get it.
Well, I think the key to continuous improvement is really people, because people improve, not tools, not books, not theories, but people improve. And another thing we need to remember is that people don't follow rank, people follow people. So it's really about bringing that inspiration, that drive to people for them to want to change and to see that it's important.
Have you found that in your career? Because you've done so much over your career. It's remarkable, really, the amount of different things that you have done and different industries you've worked in. Has that been a common theme throughout, that you've sort of had to instill this, that people follow people stuff?
Yeah, well, yes. But the first thing I noticed studying international law and talking to fellow students and actually writing my dissertation is that when you talk to people, they will tell you things. And we tend to talk about ourselves. And what we should do is talk about other people and always keeping in mind what's in it for them. What's driving these people? And that gives us thought to actually figure out how we can help them. So this is something which has been in my career right from the beginning, from all the way back to university to leading roles in different companies. I realized very quickly people follow people, not some kind of management job you have or some kind of management director role you've been given.
Yeah, I think that's a misconception, isn't it? Titles. As a junior leader, I always believed that people follow the title. If you had the word director at the beginning of your name or head of at the beginning, people would listen to you just because it said that on your name tag.
Yeah.
And it's only when I got to those roles, I went in on I think it was the Friday afternoon, and I was a junior leader and I'd been promoted and I was starting the new role on the Monday. And I expected to walk in on the Monday. This is ridiculous. I expected to walk in on the Monday and everybody would start listening to me because I was a senior leader.
Yeah.
And it just didn't happen.
No.
And it's like, what's going on? It hasn't worked.
Yeah.
What's going wrong?
Nobody's listening. We used to make a joke, and then we would say that the longer your title, the less people are going to listen to you. So
It's true.
If you become vice president and something very difficult about research and development, everybody's going to stare at you and ask, what is this guy doing right here? And that's the moment you need to inspire them. And for that, you need to basically talk to people. And it's something we do as kids, but we somehow, I don't know, forget about it when we grow up.
We do, don't we?
Yeah.
It's a really good point. We really do. We lose that ability to communicate with people.
Yeah.
And even on the management courses, we've all done these management courses. Some of them are self-guided. Some of them are mandatory ones that you get told to do in the office. Or when we first become a manager, where we get sent on a manager intensive course for 5 days. How much of that time is spent learning about talking to people and dealing with people?
And listening to them, listening to their concerns and dealing with their concerns. Because at the end of the day, managers manage, but you're not looking for managers, you're looking for leaders. Leaders are people who have people follow them. And not because you're a leader, but because they think it makes sense.
We manage processes, but you lead people. That's the difference, isn't it?
I fully agree with you. I think that's a great statement, because it's all about managing processes, improving processes, which is, as I said, an attitude. And for that, we need to use or listen to and communicate with people, because people change processes, not tools, not books, not something which is written in a book, 30, 40, 50 years ago. That has no consequence for people. It's not real.
And that's a really good segue there into our main topic today about, are traditional learning methods still relevant today? And I think most practitioners of Lean and Six Sigma that I speak to, they will all have a bookshelf, probably covered in dust. It might have, the odd bit of gym equipment chucked on there that they don't actually use anymore.
Yeah.
But in amongst that somewhere will be all of these traditional textbooks that have come from Toyota, or they've come from other well-known names. And we've all got them. They've got their place. They were brilliant back in the day. I read them 20 years ago and, it really inspired me.
Yeah.
But are they relevant today? That's the question.
I have some of those books, and I use this object. I can still see the yellow markings I have in there. And if I read it now, I just say, oh my goodness, what was I reading? Because I thought that was important. And I didn't realize it was really about telling this to other people. And I think the way Lean Six Sigma, and I'm going to use a different word, I'm going to use the word continuous improvement, that's taught to people, is no longer about just a book, just a movie. It's about telling stories. The human beings are storytellers. So you have to tell people a story which they can relate to. And when they relate to it, they'll pick it up and they'll start asking questions. And it's those questions you want so you can answer them. So I think the way we learn about Lean Six Sigma, continuous improvement, has changed. First of all, technology, a lot of it is going to be online. You still have that opportunity, though, to actually tell a story and make that real for the people in your audience. And that's the difference. So for me, the difference is it's stories that count, not the tools.
And I guess those stories as well, they transcend generations and go back, 100 years ago. Storytelling was still important then as
Yes.
it is now, and it's likely will be in 100 years' time from now.
Yes, the stories will differ, hopefully.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm pretty sure someone will tell, my grandchild will be told a story about me, hopefully a positive story, something like what you started with, Matt. But if you really look at changing people and giving them the tools to change, it's trying to describe how people change, how other people have changed. And then another element, I think, which is always undervalued in when we try and teach, that's learning from experience. We don't really help people learn from the experience of thousands of others, because this stuff is very old. As you mentioned, I can see books on my bookshelf that are at least 30 to 40 years old. So we're not new in this. We should use those experiences.
And learn from them.
Yes, we should learn from them and create a story where we first of all, we learn from the mistakes we make.
Yeah.
You don't learn from the stuff that went well. You learn from the things that went wrong. Stop blaming, but try and rationally explain, this is the story of what went wrong.
Yeah.
And that'll help people try and learn how things can go well.
Do you know, it's really interesting. So my kids, like all kids, watch cartoons on demand, right? When I was younger, I used to watch things like Nickelodeon or Cartoon Network, and you'd watch these programs. But they watch these cartoons and they're horrendous, right? They're awful. They're just so fast and so intense, and the music's loud and the voices are loud. It just moves really, really quickly. There's no storytelling to it, I find. It's just super, super clip, 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 clip.
Yeah.
And I find it hard to engage with it. Yet you stick an old cartoon like Transformers or something from when I was a kid, and I put it on. I'm like, oh, wow, this is amazing. And my children will sit there and go, this is boring. This is so slow and it doesn't happen. They get bored. They're on their iPads whilst they're watching it. They can't concentrate.
Yeah.
And what that tells me is that as the generations have changed, the way that the generations now expect information delivered to them is very, very different to how you or I would have expected it back in when we were doing it.
Yes, absolutely.
But the problem is these textbooks are, as I say, they are wonderful fonts of knowledge, but they were written to target an audience of a different generation who received information in a particular way. Now, if I try and put my kids in front of those cartoons and say, you watch that whilst I cook dinner, they will not sit there for more than 5 minutes before they're off getting into mischief somewhere else around the house.
It even happened. Yeah, it even happened to us. Happened to us. If we look at a movie, one of the first Indiana Jones movies. They'll be digging a hole for 5 minutes.
Yeah,
and you're asking, what are you doing? They're digging a hole. I get that.
Move
it's a
on.
Hole being dug, right? Move on. And what you see now, if you look at the modern movies, everything is fast.
Yeah.
And those who don't pick up on that pace, and those are the people we need to help. Those who can't pick up on that pace are lost. So that's where you need that little translation to help people, because you're absolutely right. Things now are a lot faster. So just look at the phenomena of big data. Things happen faster. There's more volume. So you need to help people that don't really get it. This is like my old maths teacher. Why I always hated stats. It wasn't because of the stats. It was because of the teacher. Yeah. Because the teacher would only focus on the people who were good at maths. So don't focus on the people who are good at something. Focus on the people who need help. And that's that people-driven continuous improvement thought I have. Focus on those that need help, that can't take on the pace of learning of today, especially when it comes to online training.
Yeah, such good advice, but so easy to overlook when we're in the thick of it. My kids were watching Men in Black the other day with Will Smith. And I remember watching that when I was younger, thinking it was amazing. And I was watching it with them the other day and I thought, this is utter rubbish. It's just
Yeah.
completely disengaging and they couldn't connect with it. So the textbooks, for example, the stuff that's in them, for me, I think we should take that as a leader in the continuous improvement space and then translate it into a more meaningful way and even update it if we need to.
The tool is there, AI. It's there. If you would go to AI, and you will probably find, and you ask for in your prompt for sources, they will use those books as sources. But you can also ask for, could you give me a short summary or a quicker summary? And that'll give you the data. And here is the trick. Why were they in the past always focused on all these stats, all these tools? Because they wanted to know the background. How does it work? I'm not interested in how it works. I want things to change. I want people to change. I want process to improve by people changing their behavior. And it's like asking somebody, do you know how Netflix works? And nobody knows how Netflix works, but we all watch it.
Yeah.
And it's like if you ask people who were mechanics 30 years ago, they know how to fix a car. If you ask them now to look at a car, they're lost.
Yeah.
So what you see is the difference is the speed is so fast that you can't grasp everything anymore because it's not about the tools. It's about the principles. I can read about the tools in a summary, as you're mentioning. I can take an old book and actually go to AI and could you give me a summary of this book? And it'll give it to you.
Yeah. AI is amazing. I remember sort of 20 years ago, we used to have this professor that used to come over from Japan and used to audit us on our world-class manufacturing journey. And I remember sitting there with Excel for about 5 days trying to create a bell curve that showed the standard deviation, the distribution, the range and variation in the cycle times of this process that was happening, trying to do that. And then like sort of 6 months into that journey, we found Minitab and we're like, wow, this is amazing. Like you put it all in and it does it for you. And then the other day, somebody asked me to use Minitab to do some analysis. And I was like, what? What? We just put it into ChatGPT and it will do it for us. We don't need to do it all ourselves.
You can actually upload, in many AI applications, you can upload an Excel file and it'll do all the analysis for you.
It's incredible.
You go to another AI application which makes presentations and ask for the key highlights and it'll make a presentation. So learning-wise, that's a huge change. It means that people will learn it quicker. The problem is, how do you apply it?
Exactly.
That's where you need to help people.
Yeah. And that's something that AI cannot. It can advise, but it can't. It hasn't got that people part, has it? That's the difference.
Yeah, and that's why people resist. Now, people have asked me very often, Michel, do they like you when you come in a room? Well, I'll tell you the answer: no. They hate me. Here's another guy talking about how I'm going to change my way of working. I've done it, and I'm sure you heard this before, Matt. I've done this for 20 years. That's how I always do it.
Yeah. Classic
Statement. And I have to change these people, help change them, and help make them understand that there's a burning platform for us to actually change our behavior in processes. So our behavior leads to different outputs in processes. And how do I do that? I wish I had the magic wand, but it's basically interest in other people, genuine interest in other people so I can inspire them to do something. And all we need to do is not talk about ourselves. Because the funny thing is, if I talk to someone, most people, before they answer a question, hear you, they're already thinking about the answer. And you can't multitask. So just take your time to absorb. We hate silence. So sometimes if you take 5 seconds or 10 seconds and wait before you answer, somebody gets very annoyed. But when I said, wait a minute, I need to process what you're saying so that I can answer correctly. So I think that'll be a new move in continuous improvement. More focus on people, more focus on what makes people tick, what makes people change. Because everybody likes to change. That's the good bit. Nobody starts their day with a statement, I want to ruin my day. I want to become worse at something. Everybody wants to get better and wants to learn. It's just you have to instill it to these people by listening to them.
Do you think that's why lean seems to have taken, in particular, a big uptick in the recent years is because of the focus on people?
Yes, I think if you look at Lean Six Sigma, if you look at continuous improvement, I think it's clear that Lean, to me, is far more an attitude of continuous improvement. Six Sigma, more focus on tools, more focus on stats, and it almost gives you the fallacy of rational thought. If you can prove something, it's right.
Mm,
Well, that doesn't work because I can prove something to people that is right, but it doesn't mean that they'll accept it.
great point.
Statistically, it can be completely correct. You can use the right hypothesis test with significance, but it still won't convince them. First of all, they don't understand it. Second of all, why would they change their behavior? That's not because of
Mm.
a Minitab output or an Excel output. It's because of something else.
Yes, you're so right. Think of speeding on the roads. You know, everybody knows that we shouldn't speed. Everybody knows why we shouldn't speed because it's dangerous and you might kill someone, blah, but
Yeah.
everybody speeds. People
Yes.
haven't just
Yeah.
suddenly gone, I'm not going to speed no more because I've been told that it's dangerous and I can't do it.
Yeah. Everybody crosses a red light. And then when you ask everybody, driver, and they did these researches in most countries, most people think they're good drivers. They're excellent drivers, and they make these mistakes. The trick with continuous improvement is also not knowing what you can do, but especially knowing what you cannot do, what you don't know. And I know something. I cannot drive very well. I'm a horrible driver. Please don't get in the car with me. It's dangerous.
God, you're worrying me.
Well, I'm sure we'll find somebody to drive us around.
Yeah, we'll get a cab.
Yeah.
We'll get a cab. Goodness me. It's the people around you that I'm worried about, not so many the people in the car.
Why do you think my wife always drives? Because she knows this is...
Do you know what? The amount of people on the road that I see driving that as soon as it involves going backwards, they panic. You go down these country lanes where you have to pull in every now and then. And if I come across somebody and they just can't reverse, they can't. And I think, how did you pass your test?
Yeah.
It's frightening.
Well,
Really
I just
frightening.
know I can't drive. So if somebody would help me with continuous improvement, I would first apply it to the process of driving.
But it's a good point, right? So you passed a driving test to be able to
Yes.
pass. So in the eyes of, the law, Michel can drive because you passed the test. And it's the same with continuous improvement. There's lots of exams out there where you get your belts or you get your certification. Does that mean that you are then a continuous improvement practitioner who knows all the answers?
No, it doesn't. I think we now know that, and there's always going to be cert hunters. Let's be honest, right? There's always going to be cert hunters who want to put it on the resume. That's reality for you. But
Yeah.
we all know that somebody who has a certification, whether it's Prince 2, whether it's Agile, whether it's a green belt, black belt, lean practitioner, it does not directly imply that they can actually apply it. And I think that we should help them apply it and learn from the application. My first projects were horrible, and I learned from them. And I was honest to say, well, that didn't make any sense. And the tools were great, but I could have used different tools. And that I miss somebody that told me that. And I hope that I can be somebody that can tell that to people, well, in a nice way. How about looking at something else?
Yeah, you need that, don't you? I think passing an exam it's a tick box, really, isn't it? You pass the exam, you regurgitated what the textbook or the course has told you.
Yeah.
The physical application that involves human beings, emotions, practices. I was shocked the first time that I went to apply a project. I'd followed the textbook, I'd done all of the analysis, I knew what the root cause was, I'd gone out there with a solution, and that was my first mistake. I'd gone out there with a solution, gone to do it, and then nobody would do what I had done.
Yeah.
And it was like, well, hang on, the book says you do this, and then you do this, and then it works. But it's not working. Why is it not working?
I think the word is engagement or commitment. It's the trick of making things that people see as yours, that you make them see that as ours. So as soon as they see it as ours, they will relate to it. So make people part of the solution. And one of the things I don't think we do enough is use the expertise of other people, because we don't know everything, thank goodness. Together, a group of 20, 30 people will always know more than one. So let's use these people and use their knowledge.
So it's kind of like, as the practitioner in the workplace, you're like the person that stands at front of the orchestra and sort of conductor.
The conductor, yes.
Yeah, I got there in the end. You're trying to bring everybody in. So all the different instruments, all the different skills, all the different sounds, you need to bring them all in at the right time.
Yeah.
You don't know how to play all those instruments.
No.
And you're not running around, the violin, and you run across to do the guitar, and then you go into the drums.
Yeah.
You're bringing everybody in who can do that. And you want to give them the best opportunity to thrive in their given skill set. That's what you're looking to do.
And it makes sense, because if you really want to solve problems, you need to solve problems in processes where people work. So how can I solve a problem if I sit 3 kilometers away from the problem and I cannot talk to the people who actually do the work? And some people will call it lean. I call it continuous improvement.
I think continuous improvement is a much better term, because it doesn't typecast you to one particular framework or methodology.
Correct. Yeah.
Because I don't believe there is one particular framework or methodology that's the right thing to do. It's always a broad... Yeah. It's a spectrum, isn't it? You do what you... And did you find as well, you were talking about your first project a minute ago, did you find with your first project you were so eager to use every tool that you'd learned how to do, you would shoehorn them in?
Yep, you tried it because you were taught to all these tools, so you wanted to pass your certification, so you wanted to look at applying all the tools. And many certification programs are just about, how do I apply the tools? I don't think that's the correct way forward. The correct way forward is, how do I find people who can help me apply these tools and understand the logic of these tools? And that's the problem, I think, with Six Sigma. Six Sigma is too much driven by the tools, driven by data, which makes sense, because sometimes you need data, let's be honest, but sometimes you need people. And I'll rephrase that. You always need people to actually work with the data, work with the results of your analysis.
Still to come on the Ever So Lean podcast.
I hate slides. And I see companies working with thousands of slides. I need to become a cook.
You went to the doctors because you had a dodgy rash, and the doctor said, oh, that's interesting. Open a textbook, and it's like reading verbatim what it said in there. You wouldn't be very confident in the doctor, would you?
It's the behavior of people. If the behavior doesn't change, nothing changes. But the moment you leave, they just revert back to the comfort zone.
You're creating the environment for them to be able to innovate and improve and thrive.
It's how you run a business. You can't run a business without continuously improving it. I should shut up and call it a day.
Want to take your leadership, team performance, and business transformation to the next level? Then it's time to think differently. At Ever So Lean, we do game-changing leadership development, high-performance coaching, and continuous improvement that delivers real impact. Trusted by businesses worldwide, endorsed by industry leaders, and recognized for excellence. We deliver industry-recognized programs, dynamic workshops, powerful keynote talks, and expert coaching to help businesses and individuals unlock their full potential. With lean thinking and a people-centric focus, we reshape the way people think, lead, and perform. Visit www.eversolean.com, because where people thrive, performance follows.
Are you ready to elevate your team's ways of working? Are you seeking fresh insights and growth opportunities? Our experts will assess your team's practices, providing valuable insights for improvement and celebration. Reward and recognise your team with this certification tailored specifically for creating an improvement culture. The BQF Academy accreditation acknowledges your journey, outstanding outcomes, and future plans. Whether you utilise Lean, Six Sigma, project management, or continuous improvement techniques, this certification celebrates your incredible work and positive impact. Propel your team's performance to new heights with the BQF Team Excellence Culture certification. Visit www.bqf.org.uk today and let's celebrate your success together.
13-time Shingo Prize winner Dr. Jeffrey Leiker and Toyota Kata author Mike Rother have created the Improvement Kata and Coaching Kata online course. This inexpensive, compact program is designed to transform your thinking and approach, making you a highly skilled learner and coach. Engage in deliberate practice to turbocharge your progress. You also get lifetime access to the materials, including all of the bonus interviews. Why pay up to 10 times the price elsewhere, listening to some consultant, when you can gain direct insights from the masters themselves? Skip the rest and go with the best. Join us today and embark on your journey to excellence. Just click on the link below to start your journey.
It's so overlooked. I've done trainings before where it's been days, if at all, before the people side has been mentioned. It's always about the data, about the tools, which, like you say, are important. But if you haven't got people, the data and the tools are irrelevant because they're not going to go anywhere.
I think it'll change in the future. What we'll see in the future is that AI is going to take a more important role. You'll see that people do not have to understand every tool, so they don't have to understand which distribution it comes from. And people will disagree with that, will disagree with my statement, but my statement is simple. You drive an electric vehicle, you don't know how the electric vehicle works. You have no idea how the software works. So more and more, the new generations will be more interested in the result. And I'll show you the proof. When we used computers back in the day, we would go to MS-DOS and then look it up. What do the young people of today do? They just restart the computer.
Just turn it off and back on again.
Yeah. And then it works. Or it doesn't, and then they go to somebody who knows how to fix a computer, or they buy a new one. And sometimes they'll find that it's a simple solution. But 9 out of 10 times, restarting your computer will actually do it.
Yeah. People have got I think they've got a much shorter patience than they used to. And if we don't adapt our learning and our training to meet that, we will lose people. How often do you go to a training course and you sit in the room and it kicks off and it's just slide after slide, or someone puts a slide up with their name on it and the name of the course, and they start off by saying, "Hi, I'm Matt Sims, I'm here to deliver." And you're like, "Well, I know what you're here to deliver, that's why I'm here." And your name's up there and it says what you're doing. Like, just get on with it. It's just infuriating.
I hate slides. And I see companies working with thousands of slides, and I don't think people pick up slides. You'll see that the slides are boring. Nobody picks up on a slide. As I said before, people pick up on stories. The slide is just the background where you can help explain it. Technically, I have done a course because my computer just switched off, and I did the whole course on a flip chart.
That's brilliant.
I don't need slides. If I don't know what I'm supposed to say now, after so many years, I need to find another job. I need to become a cook. But I have to stop doing this.
Yeah.
Because if you don't know what you're talking about after 13 to 14 years doing it, you better find yourself another job. That doesn't make sense.
But that's a great example you've given there, a cook. Like if a chef in a restaurant, do they sit there with a cookbook in front of them and they're going through, I must now add 25 grams of this, 5 grams of that. If they're reading a cookbook after 15, 20, 30 years in a kitchen, you got to question whether they're in the right job.
Yeah, they probably did the first week they worked. Yeah. And then they probably figured out, wait a minute, if I do this, this happens. If I do that, this happens. And then they will do it automatically. And therefore, every dish will have a slightly different taste, because they'll use their own, variation, if you want to call it, to present something. And the same applies to, I think, continuous improvement, to what we do. How many times have I looked when I showed slides at the back of the class where you see the faces redden a bit, right? And you see those eyes drop down a little bit.
Yeah.
And I always tell people, the moment I see that, I start telling a story about the political situation in, let's say, a country like Albania. And then I see people taking notes.
Interesting.
And then I just wonder, I should shut up and call it a day.
When you had to do that course on the flip chart, did you notice a difference in the interaction of the people because you was more engaging?
Yes, absolutely. And if I don't even, and I know I don't use a lot of slides, I use the slides afterwards. But generally, I'll talk about what we do first.
That's great.
And then I'll show the slides as the background. But the slides are a crutch.
Yeah.
And when you look at the new ways of teaching people, what's changing in our industry, I think that's one of the things that's changing. It's more about the interaction with the people in front of you. You don't start with, my name is Michel Doppert, and I'm going to teach you about. You're going to start with a question. what is continuous improvement, why do we do it, and how do we do it.
So you're getting that interaction straight away, that buy-in.
Yeah.
I think it gives you more credibility and makes you more authentic as well. If you're delivering training and you're not reading what's on the slides, it's in your
Yeah.
mind. People buy into you a lot more because they're like, well, this guy knows what he's talking. If you went to the doctors because you had a dodgy rash and the doctor said, oh, that's interesting, open a textbook and started reading verbatim what it said in there, you wouldn't be very confident in the doctor, would you?
Well, you'd be really worried if you opened a ChatGPT and started putting a
Can you
prompt in
imagine?
there.
Just going to upload a photo of this. 1 second. Let me just see what it says.
Yeah.
It's probably not
No,
far
I think
off.
no, I think to be authentic to people is very important because people will immediately feel that you're playing a role or that you're just, doing this to fill time.
Yeah.
You have to be, when you give people training or you want to help people understand continuous improvement and apply it, you have to really believe it. You have to be passionate about it. And I am passionate about it because I do think everything changes. We need to grow with it. Even our job changes as we progress, and we need to keep that change in there. And the reverse is people stop changing. And people will say things like, as I said before, we've done that for 10 years. Oh, no, not another fad. Now it's Lean Six Sigma. It used to be Lean. And the funny thing is, I meet people, they say, yeah, I had a Lean course 10 years ago. I remember we used little planes and Lego. And they have no clue what Lean is and what continuous improvement is.
Yeah. It's so common as well. How many times have you gone into an organization and there'll be people in there say, we've done this before. We made airplanes to see who could throw them the furthest. Some of them say, oh, we had a catapult and it was about making it. And you're like, yeah, it's such a poor representation of what it really is. And you're on the back foot then, because not only are you trying to inspire people with something that's exciting, you're then trying to sort of cover up the cracks from the previous poor deployment.
Yeah. One of the first instructors I had, one of the best instructors and best managers I had, Brenton Harder, was the one that told me very, very simply, it's the behavior of people. If the behavior doesn't change, nothing changes. If we change a process, but people behave the same way, nothing's going to change because they do the same thing all over again. And they'll probably change their behavior if you're there. But the moment you leave, they just revert back to their comfort zone.
Yeah, what they know, what they're comfortable with.
Yeah.
It's interesting. In my local area, that the council have been relaying it's like 3 junctions that join each other. And on the corner of these 3 junctions is like a grassy verge type bit. And they've relayed all this pathway, but across this grassy verge is what they call an elephant trail, where people cut the corner all the time. Now, that elephant trail has been there for years and years and years and years, right? The council have now relayed it, but they're not listening to their customers who are clearly cutting that corner because they don't want to walk that extra distance.
Yeah.
How easy would it be for them just to put the pathway going across there? But they've probably got their processes and their procedures they have to follow that state that it must be there. And that's a prime example of you can change the landscape and mark it all out and put nice black pavements down, but you can't change people's behavior by doing that.
Yeah. I agree. And it's partly it's not a bad thing because we have a cognitive bias in our system that teaches us that we need routine. If you ever become prisoner of war or a hostage, you'll see, if you read their books, they survive because of a routine, by doing everything. And I call it the Robinson Crusoe effect. He marked days off.
Yeah.
And it's just a way of dealing with it. So what you have to try and change is have people understand they need to change the routine. And you do that by telling them why they have to change the routine. What's the burning platform? Is there a reason for them to do this? What's in it for them?
So often we don't do that because it's an executive decision from up above that's being pushed down. Nobody really understands the reasons behind it. We just expect it to go with it.
Yeah, of course you have in a company, you have a hierarchy. That is a given. Of course, there's going to be managers, there's going to be middle management, there's going to be the doers. That will always happen. But if we want to become more effective and efficient, we need to take care that people understand why they are doing things. They understand what the burning platform is. Why do I need to change my behavior? And a simple explanation, a simple story will probably do the trick. If repeated And if brought in a, I would say, repeatable way where people understand and you keep repeating the same message, you don't sway to the right or the left. The other thing you shouldn't do, in my view, is immediately mention a number. And immediately we do this because we want to save £200 million. Because the one thing I know, financial results are a result of doing something to a process. And they're just results. It's not, you have to change the process. And that's what we're into.
Yeah, and that number as well, it doesn't mean anything to John and
No,
Jane who are working down on the shop floor.
no.
They're not going to see
It's
that.
just a number.
Yeah.
It's just a number. Yeah. But what you want to make them understand is, why is my change important so that we become profitable or we keep existing? You have to explain that. And that's all about that people focus, which is actually a leadership trait. So if you ask me, what is continuous improvement? Is it just for CI professionals? No, it's actually for leaders. It's how you run a business. You can't run a business without continuously improving it because your customers change.
Yeah, I think the term lean leadership is a really strong term because that's what it is, isn't it? You're spot on. It's a way of leading, and it's leading, but for the people.
Yes.
You're not managing the people, you're leading them and inspiring them and encourage them. You're creating the environment for them to be able to innovate and improve and thrive.
Yeah. Yeah, and it'll become more necessary. You mentioned what are changes in the future. Well, this is such a change. The new generations will be better trained. Technology is going to be more important. So we need to change the way we train people. We need to change the way we ask people to operate. You're going to have robotics in processes in the near future. And whether we like it or not, you're going to have the question, are you going to fly in an aircraft without a pilot? And those are questions I don't know the answer to. I do know it means a change.
I was sitting in the car park of the local supermarket and then I was just watching, and everybody that walked in had handfuls of empty carrier bags they were taking in. And if I took you back 10, 20 years and sat you in a car park and said, in 20 years' time, everyone's going to carry their own empty bags into the shop, you'd have looked at me and gone, what are you talking about? Like, you get the bag when you're in there.
Yeah.
But it's a behaviour, though it was difficult at first, it's now seen as the norm. It's become a habit because of the change. And every element of the leadership piece was there. You know, why did we need to change? We all understand why we needed to stop and change our carrier bags. Now, no one wants to spend, it used to be like 5p, didn't it? It's like £1 now nearly for a carrier bag. But it means something to that person.
Yeah, and I think in the near future, it'll even change further. You'll have companies delivering food or groceries to you based on some device linked to Wi-Fi in your refrigerator. I'm not talking about 2 years. I'm talking about 5 years. So this will change the whole world, and we need to help people with the process of change. We need to help them understand doing groceries is probably not what you're supposed to do. You can actually order it. We never told people, remember, we can now pay without cash. People just started doing it. And then they started discovering they use their phone. And there are still people who have difficulty with that change. I don't trust my phone. So we have to help them. We have to explain it to them. We have to take them along that journey where it becomes something we believe in and not just some tech wizard believes in.
Someone said to me the other day, I don't do online banking. Can I send you a check? I was like, what? Send me a check. I'll have to then go and pay it in. I mean, you go, no thanks, don't bother.
Is that still possible?
It's crazy, isn't it? Like, send you a check. But you're right, though. It's so true. And if we don't, people now, if I said to my son, who's 12, what's a check? He would think it's an American term for paying the bill at the end of they bring it over to you at the end of a meal. Yeah. He would have no idea what a check is. But even when I was younger, we was never taught how to fill out a check at school. It wasn't something we were taught how to do. My mum showed me how to do it.
Yeah. I used to have checks when I was younger. Yeah. And they were the last resort.
Yeah, exactly. And it was so easy to steal and stuff as well. But we weren't, we had the tool back in the day, but we wasn't teaching people how to use the tool. We just expected people to use the tool. Yeah. And if we don't adapt the way we deliver our training, I'm really passionate about training tomorrow's leaders, about inspiring them, engaging them, and developing them. And I have a course. It's Ever So Lean Rising Stars, and it's for 11-year-olds upwards. I've actually done it with 8-year-olds.
Yeah.
And it teaches them about problem solving, about engaging with other people, working together, and using some of the basic tools to solve problems. Now, I've gone into schools and I've run that session, and I'm told at the very beginning, those kids over there, those two are a little bit mischievous. We separate them two normally. And I'm like, just leave them where they are, carry on as we are. And when they come back in, the teachers an hour later, and they see these kids fully engaged and immersed in what they're doing, they say, how have you done that? And I'm like, well, I haven't done anything. All I've done is made the subject that we're doing super interesting. And, these kids, they like games. They like competing with each other. They like competitive nature. So I've turned it into a gamification thing that they love. And I've got kids that are sitting there and they're taking tests at the end of these sessions, and they're passing tests. They're not far off a green belt level, and they're 11 years old.
So I think you should do that in multiple European countries, because one of the big issues we have is training people, is education. We educate people only to a limited degree when it comes to problem solving. And if we don't educate them in a structured problem solving methodology, call it Six Sigma, whatever you want to call it, they'll start firefighting.
Exactly.
And they spend too much time.
Yeah. And then at some point in their careers, they'll come across continuous improvement methods and go, why was I never shown this like 20 years ago? Because that's what I've done. I'll be like, wow, it's amazing.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I think it's an absolute great idea, because children who are 10, 11, 8 years old are willing to learn. And you can you can tell them a very nice story about a problem, and you can make it competitive. You can make it something you can touch, you can relate to, whether it is building a little car, whatever. And they'll understand how you structurally solve a problem. And that means that in their future lives, when they're confronted with problems, they will no longer firefight. And if you ask me, the big enemy to continuous improvement is firefighting.
It's such a draining process. It drains your morale, it drains your resource. But we all fall into that pattern. We all do it. I think it's confidence as well. Those kids are really confident in how to address problems.
I think what we should tell people is always to take a step back. Don't immediately jump into something. Take a step back, because up close, every shark looks like gray sandpaper. So if you are walking along a beach and you're just in the ocean and you feel gray sandpaper touch your leg, get out of there. Don't start looking. It could be a shark. Don't take the risk. But taking a step back forces you to look at it again and to start using a structured problem-solving method, if you know that, instead of just jumping in and calling for a solution.
Yeah.
And worst case scenario, you call for a solution based on a majority of votes.
I've seen time and time again people jumping in with solutions, deploying solutions, sometimes very costly solutions. And all it ends up doing is compounding the problem. And it doesn't actually fix the problem. Half the time it moves the problem. And it's not resolved. And people have this driven into them. We've made this change. It's cost us X amount of money. This is the new process. The people then see the problem continuing and they're sitting there thinking, well, that didn't work. So they lose confidence in leadership. They lose confidence in continuous improvement because of it's not solved the problem.
It's not solved the problem.
But it's not continuous improvement that's the problem.
No, it's not continuous improvement, because there's no sustainment. There's no learning from experience. There's no structured problem solving. It's just do it.
That's why it works so well with the kids, because they haven't,
I agree.
Especially the 8-year-olds, they're not afraid to make a mistake at that age.
Yeah.
They're not worried about not looking good in front of the boss. They're not worried about their next promotion. They're not worried about the fact that Michel earns more than Matt and I want to move up the ladder. They're sitting there and they're just focused on what's happening at that time. And they're engrossed in it and they just want to do well.
And I think you mentioned something very important that people don't realize. If you ever do a test or a pilot, you want to make a lot of mistakes, because that's how you learn. What happens in our world, if you make a mistake, you're blamed.
Yep.
And you're punished because you're not supposed to make a mistake. But you should have people empowered to make mistakes, because that's the best way to learn from them. Nobody makes a mistake twice, because you have to fix it again.
Yeah.
But we kind of forget that. And those are the stories I believe we should tell when it comes to continuous improvement.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. We are so institutionalized, right and wrong, true and false, black and white. But it's not like that. You know, you need to have the freedom. As leaders, I think it's our responsibility to create that safe space for people to be able to make mistakes, like you say, to learn, adapt, overcome, and move forward.
Yeah.
So important.
Absolutely.
If you were to give 2 special Michel tips to people that are listening now, if they're in their organizations now and they're like, right, what can we do to modernize continuous improvement and make sure that, you know, as we're training people and we're educating people, how can we make it more relevant? What would you suggest?
My first tip would be first explain why it is important, then what it is, and how you want to deploy it and sustain it. That's the first tip I would have. The second tip I would have is to listen and to actually listen to your people, allow them to respond, allow them to be critical, because resistance is a step towards connection.
Fantastic. There you go. 2 superb tips. They sound really simple, but I reckon if we went out and surveyed 100 businesses, do you do this? I bet they don't.
No.
Right, we're going to give you a test now, Michel. This is
the
bit you've been looking forward to. This is the yes/no game.
Yeah.
So this is the part of the show where every happy guest comes on and I put them to the test, and I have 60 seconds on the clock with some intense music playing in the background. And I'm going to fire questions at you. And all you need to do is answer them, but not say yes or no.
So I'm not allowed to say yes or no?
Nope. Simple as that. It's that easy.
Okay.
But I'm not going to force it upon you. I'm going to give you some options. There are 3 different cards in front of me now, each one with a different list of questions on it from a different type. I'm going to give you the option, card number 1, card number 2, or card number 3.
Take 3.
3, okay. Card number 3. Your given topic is the Olympic Games.
Olympic Games are important. They are important for every country, but we should make sure that they're organized in countries that actually provide the correct circumstances for it, where there's no abuse.
Absolutely. I think that's a really, really good point. It's the same with any type of large sporting event, isn't it? It should be like that.
Yeah.
Right. So, in a minute, I'm going to hit the button. And I'm going to throw some of these questions look brilliant, actually. So I'm going to throw these questions at you. Just do not say.
I can't say.
You can't
yes
say it.
No.
Don't say it.
Okay.
If you hear the gong, that means you did say yes, no, or a variance of yes, no, which could be a or you could have nodded your head or something like that. And if you hear some clapping and cheering, that means that you made the 60 seconds and you are yes, no game champion.
Okay. I'm not good at this kind of games, but here we go.
Believe me, some very, very smart people have failed this, including me. Right, here we go. Let's do this. Let's have it. Right, here we go then. It's Michel's time to shine. Michel, I'm going to throw the questions at you. Say what you like, but do not say yes or no. Right, question number 1. Has breakdancing ever been an Olympic sport?
It has not been an Olympic sport until the last time an Australian lady made a fool out of herself incorrectly.
Incredible. I can't believe you got that right. How many rings are in the Olympic flag?
I believe 6.
Say 6. You nodded at me, Michel. You nodded at me.
No.
That was really funny. You went completely silent. You looked at me and you went... It's hard, isn't it? It's really
my body
hard.
language I can't control. My verbal language I can, but it's perfect. Yeah,
it's hard. But that can you tell me, or did you just say always catches people out? It's my go-to catch people out thing because people lose their guard. Their guard comes down on that question, and they just sort of like naturally answer. That was really good. That was really good fun. I can't believe you knew that answer about the breakdancing because it debuted in Paris in 2024.
It did, yeah. And she was, the Australian delegate was criticized, but she was accepted, and it is a form of art. So you would have to agree it is a form of art. One could argue that it was a bit simple, but I don't know.
But it's a really good example, though, actually. Like your traditional Olympic sports, you know, they're all in there. Everyone knows what they are. But the Olympics has had to modernise to meet with the activities that kids are into now. Otherwise, eventually, you're going to end up with an Olympic Games where nobody does those things, and it's not going to be what it is. They've adapted, and it's survival of the fittest, really, isn't it?
I hope the next Olympic Games will have a game called pickleball in them.
Oh, yes. It's huge.
Yeah,
Absolutely huge.
huge in the US.
I was at Wembley Stadium a few weeks ago, and outside of Wembley Stadium, they've got like 6 or 7 pickleball courts. And I stayed there for 2 days, and my hotel room sort of overlooked that area. And those courts were used all day, both days, non-stop. People were on them all the time.
A lot of people still don't know about pickleball, but it's a great sport, really growing in the United States, and it's a sport which is easily played by all ages.
Yeah, it's again, and go back 5-10 years, didn't exist.
Didn't exist.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's got to be
I
in
think
there.
it did. Yeah, it existed somewhere, but nobody picked it up, and it was just all you need is to, I guess, tell the story. Pickleball is an interesting game that can be played by elderly people who have problems with their knees and therefore can keep their cardiovascular condition up to par, which leads to less cost in the NHS.
And also, have a go. Like, you have a go at these things.
Yeah,
It's like with continuous improvement. You don't learn from reading a textbook particularly or doing an exam. Go and have a go at it.
just play, and then the first few balls are going to be horrible, but certainly after a while, and you'll see if you do it 3 times, the third time you'll be a lot better than the first. I'll promise you.
There you go. You've heard it from the man himself. He's a pro. He's going to be at the next Olympics, apparently, playing pickleball. Which nation would you represent, though? That's the thing. I'm never quite sure.
I will represent the Netherlands.
The Netherlands. There you go. Fantastic. Look, it's been an absolutely brilliant conversation. I'm so grateful for you coming on. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your time, Matt. And I'm looking forward to seeing you in the future. Thank you very much.
So the key takeaways from today's discussion with Michel. I think first up, we have to state that continuous improvement is a mindset, not a methodology. It's not about toolkits, textbooks, or certifications. Continuous improvement is an attitude rooted in curiosity, learning, and a willingness to evolve. Tools support it, but people definitely drive it. Leadership is human. People follow people, not positions. Michel was really clear on this. It was one of his most profound lessons over the years. Titles don't inspire change, people do. Effective leaders earn trust and influence by being authentic, listening, and showing genuine interest in others. Communication and listening are foundational. Progress starts by asking better questions, not giving better answers. Listening builds understanding, overcomes resistance, and creates the conditions for engagement. Old school learning no longer meets today's needs. Traditional training, textbooks, long courses, and PowerPoint-heavy sessions fail to engage modern learners. Learning needs to be relevant, interactive, story-led, inclusive, and designed for how people consume information today. Storytelling is a timeless teaching method. People learn and connect through stories, not through slide decks. Stories help convey principles in ways that data and definitions can't. The art of storytelling is one of the most important parts of being a leader. If you can tell a good story, and I don't mean fictional, I mean convey information in a way that's meaningful to people, you're off to a really good start. Technology and AI are enablers, not replacements. AI can really accelerate analysis and access to information, but it can't replace the empathy, judgment, or connection that human leaders bring. Use tech to simplify, but keep people at the center. Application matters more than certification. Passing an exam doesn't equal capability. Real learning happens through doing, experimenting, failing, and reflecting. Mistakes should be welcomed as part of the process. Co-creation is essential to meaningful change. Improvement is more effective when solutions are developed with, not for or to, the people doing the work. Engagement, ownership, and shared learning are critical for sustainability. Early exposure to structured problem solving builds lifelong capability. Now, this is something that I think Michel and I really do share a passion for. Introducing structured problem solving skills at a young age creates confidence, curiosity, and a healthier approach to change. Programs like the Everceline Rising Stars show how children as young as 8 can grasp core improvement principles when delivered in the right way. It proves we can build capability early and help the next generation avoid the firefighting culture that often dominates our current workplaces. Start with the why, not with the what. Don't lead with metrics or mandates. Start by helping people understand why change matters to them. Only then will they be able to open up to the what and the how. Thanks so much for joining us on this episode of the Everceline podcast. A huge thank you to Michel for sharing his authentic insights and his real level-headed approach to continuous improvement. And I love the insights he's given us on how things have adapted, how things need to adapt, and how he sees things going in the future in the continuous improvement space. And just like pickleball, there's lots of new stuff out there that can come to the forefront. We just need to find it and champion it and try it. Now, if you're looking for more inspiration and guidance to drive performance in your organization, head over to everceline.com. There you'll discover our tailored leadership and operational excellence coaching, consultancy services, accredited training programs, hands-on workshops, and inspirational keynote talks, all designed to empower you and your teams to build that bridge to high performance. Your support truly makes a difference. Please subscribe, like, and review the podcast on your preferred platform to help us reach more forward-thinking leaders. And remember, where people thrive, performance really does follow. I'll see you on the next episode. The Everceline podcast is researched, produced, and recorded by Matt Sims. Visit everceline.com to find out more.